Hey there, amplifiers. Thank you for tuning in. And if you are a professional who has to deal with taxes whatsoever, chances are you're feeling the whirlwind right now. There are so many things going on with deadlines, and you may be wondering, does the whirlwind ever end? Well, that is up to you. You're the captain of your ship, so you're going to decide which seas you'll sail. In other words, you can refocus your energy, increase the value of your firm, and provide better experiences for those you serve. And our guest today is an expert when it comes to doing these things. He's a rock star professional for sure, and he's a founder of Poe Group Advisors. Authored 2 books, published them, Accountant's Flight Plan, which is pretty awesome, and then on your own, how to start your own CPA firm. He's an entrepreneur, an accounting expert for 20 plus years, and I'd like to welcome to Growth Amplifiers, Brannon Poe. Brannon, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is really quite the honor. So thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. You've had a wonderful journey getting to this point, and what I'd like to start us off with is tuning those in who may not be familiar with you. What is your path to get to where you're at today? How did you get to this point in your career?
Well, I am a CPA. I started my career with Ernst & Young many years ago, and I stayed in public practice for about 5 years, and I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't quite what I was looking for in a career long term. I liked the sales aspect of work and just more of a persuading people than doing accounting and tax. So I left the profession, and I started selling CPA firms in 2003. I actually called the wrong guy. That's how I got started. So
You called the wrong guy.
I called the wrong guy. So I was at a CPE event with a friend of mine, and he had bought a CPA practice, and he said, "Yeah, this guy, all he does is he brokers CPA firms. You should call him." And so I go home the next day, and I couldn't remember who the person was that he told me that he used. And I went on the internet and called this guy out of Dallas, Texas, who was just starting a company called Accounting Practice Sales. And that was how I got started. I called Howard Holmes and started selling firms in South Carolina and North Carolina. And then Howard sold his company a few years after that, and I left and started Poe Group Advisors when he departed Accounting Practice Sales.
Now, what I like about what you're doing is it's one of the best practices. Stephen Covey wrote it in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. Imagine that. At some point in time, you're going to come to an end date, regardless of whether you're going to sell it or pass it on or something. You can't run it forever. So beginning to think about the future now is important, because time goes like that. Before you know it, you'll be there. And when's the best time to plant a tree?
Yeah, 20 years ago.
20 years ago, exactly. So let's start unpacking this, and we're going to be thinking about your average CPA firm, and we're going to unpack what is a challenge that you see they commonly are running into that you can help provide some light. We'll talk about the solution, what they should be doing so they can avoid being taken over by that challenge, and then we'll get down to the amplifier action, an action that they can take to start making progress towards bringing that solution to existence. And we'll ask everyone, if you haven't tuned in yet and subscribed to Growth Amplifiers, please make sure to do so. We are looking to pass out amplified actions for everyone to continually amplify their business. Without further ado, Brandon, let's get started with what is a challenge, the A challenge. What is the A challenge that you see CPA practices make commonly that maybe they know it or maybe they don't know that they don't know it?
I think most of them know it because they're experiencing it sort of acutely, especially right now with tax season going on. Most of them don't have enough time. So they're running their business and they're feeling, a lot of them just operate in a way that's where their practice is highly dependent on the owner.
Yes, I see this. Mm-hmm. And what do you think causes that?
Well, I think it's not uncommon for any business. If you start a business, any business, you start doing everything yourself at first. And that's normal. And that's what gets you successful in that initial phase of your business. And so once you fill up your own capacity, then you have to start hiring and start figuring out ways to do less and less of that work. But some of the old habits survive, like you don't say no to new clients coming in, or you don't say no to requests of your time, so you don't protect your time well. You become unfocused in your business. You say yes to the wrong kinds of work. So I see this very common with CPAs and firm owners of, even like firm owners have been around a long time. They still make this mistake. You have a client that needs a certain type of work. You want to help the client. It comes from a good place. And they say, hey, I've got I need help with this estate plan that I'm working on, or I need help with this business valuation that I'm working on, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And maybe you haven't done that kind of work before, but it sounds kind of interesting and you're curious about it. You want to help the client. So you say, yes, okay, we can do that. And then before you know it, you're doing a handful of business valuation, or you're doing a handful of wealth management work, financial planning, and you're dabbling in all these things. And your time is just the big suffering aspect of that. And then you couple that with the current sort of staffing shortage that the industry is experiencing, and you've got a recipe for a very busy owner.
Yes. And what I'm acknowledging, number one, is having been in a parallel universe. So kind of like in a parallel universe that from a marketing side of the fence, that's kind of the route that I took. I started my own business, then started growing a firm with different people in it, and then realized, I built my business to where I'm in the center and stuck to it. So I needed to go back and reinvent it to the point where, all right, now I can still be a leader, but now I can lead others to implement on my behalf. And you pointed out something right there that I want to just highlight for a moment, because it's those small, subtle gives that you're giving because you care. Now, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I really care about the clients that I take on. I want them to succeed. I want to provide the best experience for them. I want to give my best and my all. But sometimes those little gives can add up. And before you know it, you're doing way too many things to effectively manage. So if that's the challenge, my friend, what is the solution to start getting away from that? And because you mentioned you build these habits, you get trained for the beginning years, and you get successes from it, from operating from a certain playbook. Mm-hmm. Then you cross a line, and now you've got to basically do the opposite.
So you have to undo it.
So what's that solution? How do you help people? How do you help firms increase the value of their business and also get refocused?
Yeah. So we actually created a workshop called Accounting Practice Academy. and it's built to do just that. It's built with the end in mind. So a lot of the people that are in Academy are gearing up for a sale. So they're trying to get their business less owner dependent to make it more valuable. We also have younger, more people in the kind of earlier phase of their career who don't want to make those mistakes and want to invest in ways to build it correctly the first time. So the first thing you have to do is create new capacity. You can't take your business to that next level until you free yourself up to do that, because unfortunately, there's no magic bullet, right? All of these things, if you want to change the practice, if you want to change those habits, you've got to invest some time in order to do that. And so the first thing you need to do is free that time up and allow yourself to sort of make more intentional, strategic type of changes to your business to get it where it needs to go. So you have to undo some of those things. Sometimes you have to say, you know what, we're not going to do financial services anymore, or we're going to stop doing business valuation. And it might mean finding another provider out there that can do a better job of it. And you help your client by sending them to someone who's really more expert in that part of the business. So you have to undo it. You have to learn and there can be a combination of ways to do this. Delegation is an obvious one, which some accountants find more difficult than others. But, so it's a combination of actually being strategic about what you should let go of in terms of entire segments of the business sometimes, or particular clients in the business. And then also looking at what you're doing and how you can let go of some of the day-to-day tasks that you're currently doing.
Hey there, this is Kenny from Growth Amplifiers, here to ensure you get your awesome ideas into action to grow and improve your business and achieve your full potential. Take the first step by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. Take the assessment to get your personalized score. Then select from free resources to learn how to improve your score. Don't wait. Be proactive and take action now by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. And always keep on amplifying. Now, let's get back to the show. That's a huge undertaking. And sometimes I'm working with that firm. They're trying to market. They're trying to get new customers. They're trying to get new ideal customers. But then they're still at a point where capacity is challenging them. And then sometimes maybe there's something that we might be able to do to help them get some new capacity. Maybe they haven't used an assistant before. And it's like, well, how about that? What's something that you could do there? But then it's not uncommon for them to say, hey, I've got some new capacity. Now it's full. It's gone before it even had a chance to blossom. When you're guiding people who are trying to go through this process, how do you help them identify where to prioritize, how to prioritize, so they're putting their time in the right areas and in the right order?
Well, this is going to sound really interesting, but I had a call years ago. I had somebody, kind of a younger CPA, call me, and he said, I want to sell my firm. And so I started asking him some questions about it. And first of all, he said, I love what I do. I love helping people. He doesn't really want to go to work for somebody else. So essentially helped him uncover that he's just burned out. He likes what he's doing overall. He just doesn't like the treadmill that he's handcuffed to. And
you built yourself a job.
Yeah. And so I said, I think the first thing I would do if I were in your shoes is I would take a vacation. When's the last time you had a real vacation and didn't check in, didn't work? And it had been a long time for this young owner, and he did take a vacation. He took a week and didn't check his email. He didn't call into the office. He really unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes a little detachment from the business and some reflection away from it to decide, oh man, I really do need to stop doing audit work, or why, why am I still, why am I beating my head against the wall for these clients that are not appreciative of what I'm doing? So sometimes that time off can help you set priorities and look at the business from more of a detachment is really key, because so many of us get caught in the day-to-day. You're caught in the weeds and you can't see the bigger picture when you're down in those weeds. So
you got everything pulled up right to your face.
Everything's close, right? So you got to zoom out.
Get fresh perspective, get out of the emotion part, come in there with being grounded, and then chances are you might even know this information, but you're so wrapped up with that whirlwind, managing that day-to-day, you can't see it.
Right.
So that's really a great piece of advice. And it's kind of leading us right into this amplifier action for those who are tuned in and say, brah, because I'm hearing this right now. There's a lot of CPAs right now who are in that whirlwind. They're not enjoying life. And they're like, what have I created? What can I do about that? How can I change this? What is that first baby step? And again, when you think about doing the whole transformation, it becomes overwhelming. But what is a baby step that someone could take either during tax season or maybe better after? What is your thoughts to that?
Well, I think there's I think the best thing you can do is do something.
There you go. I like it. Take action. Want new results? Take new actions.
Do something. Like, what can you do that would give you an easy win? For some, it might be booking a vacation. Like, literally just, that's something you can do during tax season. You can book a trip, right? And have that to look forward to and commit to not working while you're on that trip. You can fire a client. I mean, I'm sure most people have one client they'd like to let go of. You can experiment with higher pricing when you quote new clients. You can delegate one task off of your list. You can, make a list of all the things you'd like to say no to. You can, anything, just something, just start. You got to start. Even if it's not the perfect way to start, it's better than continuing on the existing
I love
path.
that thought. Just take an action. Determine one action you can take that you feel confident about that you can take, and just begin that process. The easy thing to do is, I'll get to this at some point in time in the future when it's perfect, when I have the time to do it. But the whirlwind will ensure that it's always going to be there. It won't ever let you get the perfect time. So you've got to make the time now. No better time than now, because that's all the time we ever have.
Yep.
That's excellent. So now we're going to go into this is the rapid fire. I'm going to put you on the spot. It's like, what? You didn't tell me this. But this is fun stuff. Just sharing a couple picks that you've had from your things that you've seen that were helpful. And so if you have a book, whether it's audio or a physical book, I know you have two you've authored yourself, which you're welcome to reshare again. Mention them at the beginning of the program. But also if you have another book that you might suggest for others who are looking to refocus.
Well, I got two. So you alluded to Stephen Covey, his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a great, excellent book. If you get it, do all the little note taking that he suggests. Very powerful book. And then the other book I'm going to recommend is one that you didn't show, which we recently published. It's called The Unplugged Vacation. and you can download it for free on our website at PoeGroupAdvisors.com, and it's how to take a vacation without checking email.
We'll definitely have to put that in the graphic version. No, that's really cool, because we sometimes can get so caught up with getting things done, we forget, why are we doing them in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
To have a better quality of life. And if we're not taking the time to enjoy it, we're missing the big picture. So I think that's a great point. Next thing, advisors pick. If there's an event, it could be in person, such as a conference or a certain type of event, or if it's a virtual event, it's just something that you think would be worthwhile for CPAs or advisors to check out.
Well, gosh, there's so many good events. I like, any of the big conferences. I like the AICPA annual conference. That's in July. I think it's in July or June or July of every year. There's so many different vendors at that conference. Don't just go to the conference and listen, but go and talk to all the vendors. There's so many people that can help if you're trying to grow your practice or grow your free time or make your firm more valuable. There's so many different vendors at those conferences that if you don't get and talk to those people at the booth, you're missing out.
Totally get that. Usually there are people who are able to help you on your journey and help you paddle your boat in the direction where you want to go. Sometimes we can get so caught up with the knowledge that we have. We say, I kind of already know everything. That's the teenage mindset.
Yeah.
I already know everything. But it's always worth getting fresh perspective. Yeah. And then last but not least, is there a thought leader that you think would be worth giving a highlight or shout out to? Just someone who's kind of doing something really good in the industry, contact, maybe a potential guest for Growth Amplifiers?
I would say Blake Oliver. I really have followed Blake for a little while. He was a director at Giraffe. He's now started a new company called Earmark, which you can get CPE from just listening to podcasts, which I think is really cool.
I really do appreciate that. You can get your education while getting your education. Yeah. Doesn't that make sense? For those people who are tuning in who want to learn more about you, your company, could you tell them where to go and what they could do so that they can take an action to help themselves out?
Well, go to our website, PoeGroupAdvisors.com, and check out we have like a microsite within. It's called Accounting Practice Academy. And we have a lot of resources. There's a separate resources tab there. And we have growth guides. We've got free books, downloads. And if you want to connect with us, you can connect with us on the site.
Really keeping it easy for people. And one of the ways that we typically end these shows is you've been sharing some great advice along the way, but if you can end with a parting thought, something that you've picked up on your life journey that might be helpful for others on theirs. It doesn't have to be related to anything that we've talked about. It could just be anything that you've gained on your journey. What would you care to share?
Well, I'd like to share that, growing a business is a challenge, and it's sometimes frustrating because you get to these points of very high frustration. And, I would just say, stay with it, work through them. There are ways. You don't have to accept what's currently, the way your business currently is. You can change it anytime you decide to. And don't get stuck. Keep moving. That's my best advice. Just stay at it.
Very timely advice for some people who are in that fight right now, taking the punches and getting tempted to throw in that towel and just let it go. You do have the opportunity. You are the captain of your ship. You can take new actions and get new results. You got to make a decision on what you want. Then don't worry about all the steps you need to take to get there. Just focus on taking that one action, which was today's amplified action. Take some action. Do it now. Don't let another thing get your attention. Do something as you end this and put it into action. Make it a small thing that you could tangibly just start making progress on. So Brannon, I appreciate you for joining in, for sharing your knowledge and insights, for being the amplifier that you are. And I'm glad that you were able to join and share with our guests and our audience. We highly appreciate you.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.